What happens when you take one of Britain's most creative independent watch brands and blend it with an ancient technique that fires glass into vibrant colours? Well, simply put, you get the brand new Oracle Time Isotope Mercury Vitreous Green and Orange, our third collaboration project and perhaps Isotope's most striking watches to date. In this video, we break down the history of enameling as a technique, how enamel watch dials are made, why they're so rare/expensive, and what makes this new release different from the classical dress watches you tend to see draped with the bold colours of molten glass. So, what is enamel? A brief history. Enameling is an ancient technique. Its first documented use is on a set of 6 gold rings and a royal scepter dated to the Mycenaean period way back in the 13th century BC. The technique is likely even older. Ancient Egyptians used powdered glass decoration on jewellery as far back as 1500 BC, and perhaps even before. They had mastery of using coloured glass pastes and cloisonné-like techniques, although some scholars debate whether this counts as true vitreous enamel due to the heating process. Enamel entered watchmaking in the 1600s when artists in Blois, France and Geneva, Switzerland perfected miniature painted scenes for cases and pocket watch lids, turning them into canvases for myth, portraiture, and even memento mori motifs. By the 18th and 19th centuries, white grand faux enamel dials became the standard for fine pocket watches, while masters like Joseph Cotteau elevated the craft into signed works of art. Enamel's golden age on the wrist came in the mid-20th century with Stern Frere's cloisonné dial for Rolex, Omega, Universal Genève, Vacheron Constantin, and Patek Philippe. These are tiny glass-painted worlds that remain among the most coveted watches ever made. Its rich history continued into the 21st century with a plethora of brands and artists such as Anne Audain, Donze Cardin, Metiers, Jean and Lucie Gembrugge, Vacheron Constantin again, Seiko, Celadon, Ulysse Nardin, Schaefer & Co., and too many more to name. These companies and artists are the inspiration for our contribution into the story of enamel. So how does enameling work? In grand faux enamel, we'll get to the techniques in a bit, multiple successive layers of finely ground glass powder applied to a metal base, which is usually copper, silver or gold, and each layer is fired in a kiln at around 750 to 850 Celsius. Each firing melts the powder into a thin sheet of glass that bonds permanently to the metal. The process is repeated many times, adding new layers, refiring, cooling, polishing, until the surface is perfectly even and deep. A simple white dial can require a dozen firings, complex ones far more. This, combined with a high failure rate, is what contributes to the cost of enamel-adorned watches. Colour comes from adding metal oxides to the glass powder, cobalt for blue, chromium for green, iron for reds and browns, manganese for violets. The palette is limited but permanent. Enamel will not fade or patina, which is why centuries-old pieces look so vivid. We looked at hundreds of tiny samples, like the one you see here, before we settled on the minty green and ember-like orange used on the Isotope Vitreous Mercury. So, what are the different enamel techniques seen on watches? There are 6 main enameling techniques used in watchmaking. Grand faux is the purest form and most common, the medium we chose for the Isotope Vitrious. Flinke lays translucent enamel over guilloche, giving depth and detail, like the masterpiece that is the 28E from Kari Voutilainen. Cloisonné uses gold wires to outline tiny images, a technique perfected on the map of Australasia and Southeast Asia on the Patek Philippe World Time 5231G. Instead of using wires, with Champlevé enamel, a design is carved or etched out of a solid metal plate, creating recesses for the enamel, as seen on the intricate Crayon Anywhere arborea. Palionnet suspends gold spangles and miniature structures under glass, a Jacques Dreux favourite with its beautiful Grand Second Palionnet. And for the rarest showstopper, Plique Azur creates translucent stained glass effect, as seen on the surround of the air balloon Vacheron Constantin's Les Aerostiers. Truly mind-boggling. So what about our watches? This is where our story starts. We wanted to create something show-stopping, but while also keeping the cost relatively affordable. There are some other brands that do this, such as Anne Audain, Celadon, etc. But we really wanted to bring some vibrancy to the enamel scene. Having multiple internal debates, it's clear that we loved both the orange and green, and when we reached a Mexican standoff, we decided to create one of each, limited to 25 pieces. The 2 colours in question are the previously mentioned Vitreous Green, a cool spearmint tone with a naturalistic vibe, and the Vitreous Orange, a fiery volcanic shade. Both coloured enamel dials are laid over a silver leaf texture, giving a unique finish. We wanted to let this finish do the talking, and as such, both dials feature no seconds hand, no indexes, and no logo, all placed under a domed anti-reflective sapphire crystal etched with the Isotope logo. The case used is the Mercury Silhouette. Made from steel, it measures 38mm across and just over 10 thick, and comes with 100 meters of water resistance. The lines are flowing, compact and clean, but leave plenty of room for the enamel to shine. We also decided we wanted to add a matte effect to both watches to make them really stand out. For the green, we chose a fully sandblasted steel for a stealthy look, while the orange we decided on black PVD to give a really strong contrast to the glowing ember dial. Turn it over and you'll find an exhibition caseback showing off the Caliber i7. This is Isotope's custom take on the ETA Persu 7001, a slim hand-wound Swiss movement that gives you 42 hours of power reserve and keeps the watch super wearable. The bridges are also custom engraved, making it a very pretty movement to look at. It's not haute horology, but it's in keeping with the artisanal roots and the aesthetics of the enamel on the front. On the wrist, they wear wonderfully. The FKM rubber strap is supple, and with a 44.5 lug-to-lug and svelte height, they fit under the cuff with ease. The straps also come with deploying clasps with matching finishing. As we said, our brief was to create a wearable everyday enamel watch, and honestly, I've even been running with mine on. Both pieces are limited to 25 units and priced at £2,775, including VAT. They're not cheap by any means, but considering the art that you're getting, a genuine Vitrius enamel dial, a thin Swiss manual wind caliber, and a proper limited run, it feels fair. Between the two, I'm Team Green. But which one would you go for?